Marlo, and I am a resident of Swift Haven Tiny Home Village.
Marlo, can you tell us more about yourself, your story?
Yes, I'm a native Washingtonian. I was born at Fort Lewis at the Army Hospital and grew up in Walla Walla and now live in Bellingham. When I went to Western in 95 to 97, I was a junior and a senior, and I did not finish my degree because of my anxiety and my depression. When I moved away in 97, went back to Walla Walla, and then I loved Bellingham so much that I came back in 2002 and stayed until 2007. And at that time, I was completely full-time employed. I was a lead caregiver at one of the local, at two of the local memory care facilities. That was something that I was really good at, work that I was really good at. Then I left in 2007, moved around some more, and came back because I was going to go homeless for the first time in 2013. And so then I came completely homeless to Bellingham and immediately just started checking in at the Lighthouse Mission because I knew I didn't have to stay on the street in Bellingham. Since then, the Opportunity Council has paid in 2013 and in 2014, they helped me get into an apartment with initial rent and security deposit. However, there's no way to sustain it, especially as a single person. Rent has continuously gone up to the point where I do not qualify. Even if I have a full-time job, there's no way for me to make 3 times the rent in order to get in, which is what is required now in any apartment in Bellingham. And then after that, I had never been in a tent, and I was in a tent. I found a nice place in Bellingham that was close to a shopping center with amenities, and so I lived in a tent that summer, and then that's when Opportunity Council helped out again to get into low-income housing. However, because low-income housing is government funded, the rent goes up every year, and so at a certain point, even though it's considered low-income housing with a certain price point, they make it as high as they possibly can, and it's raised every year. So at a certain point, that becomes untenable as well. So at this point, I am not on disability. In fact, I'm in what's called ABAD, able-bodied working adult without children. So if you are considered an ABAD, an able-bodied adult, there are no programs for you. And in fact, I stayed at Agape, and they were the only place in town that would take somebody who was not disabled. It is very hard as a person without disabilities to find somewhere to live when you're homeless. And so Agape was one place. I will not say anything bad about them. I have nothing but good things to say about them. We had a great relationship, the staff and I. I grew as a person there. It's not for everyone. However, it was the best thing I could have had. And I stayed there for 2 years. Then I got a job at T-Mobile. And I really wanted to work in the tech area in terms of fixing phones when they went off the rails and to help customers over the phone. However, in order to get to that position, I needed to sell so many phone lines in order to have my stats be at a certain level for me to move on to that tech position. And sales is not my area of either expertise or liking. So I failed at getting people to add lines. And therefore my stats were down. So I was never going to get to that tech position. Then I quit, and at that point I was so embarrassed that I kind of stopped talking to my family. And for the month before I went back to the mission, I'd been there before, I just sat in my room and was like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this again. I made a decision that I was just going to turn my life around in terms of just being honest. And if I had to live on the street for the rest of my life, so be it. I am not going to slave away to with a job to just give the apartment all my money so that I can sleep and then go back to work just so I can sleep there so that I can do this job over and over again. Another thing that I hear from people is, well, why don't you just get 3 part-time jobs? Ultimately, what I found is that each part-time job wants you to be completely loyal to them, on call all the time. Therefore, you cannot get 3 part-time jobs. You could when you can't anymore, because they can, if you won't be there on call, somebody else will. So I went to the mission, and this is when they were on F and Holly, so that's where I stayed, and I actually found it quite relaxing. If you are going through a hard time in life, they feed you every 4 hours. They wash your sheets. You don't have to worry about where you're going to lay your head that night. You know you're sheltered, clothed, and fed. And then the rest of the time, you get to think about where you are in life. And you are with a lot of other people who are going through the same thing. And everybody reacts to it differently. I, by this time, was just so happy not to be running around and trying to make rent that I took it as, just basically a time for reflection. And it was really good for me. Most of the housing options for someone who is on the street is, at this point in our economy, just so temporary. If you can get kicked out or lose your housing for a number of reasons, and being in a home is not considered a basic, I wouldn't say a right, but just a basic need. Well, I guess if you have no money, you don't get to have a place to live, and that's considered acceptable. And I don't think it's acceptable. Therefore, this is a very small box. However, it is everything a person who is on the street needs to feel sheltered, and in order to move on with their life. I have been able to again reflect on my life, as well as because there is a zero rent option, I can work on my mental health, as well as I can work on if I have a dream about what I want to do to make money. I can do it. I don't have the stress of the job where I have to make money and then do all this stuff on the side to get to a place where I'm working in in somewhere where I more enjoy than just that pays this much, so that's the job I need to take.
To survive.
Yes.
What is Swift Haven doing for you? You've been here since February.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in your progress
Yes.
between February and now?
The progress and what I see, the vision and how Swift Haven runs and helps me as a resident as well as everyone else here is we've all been on the street. So we all can appreciate having even an 8x8 box as housing. It also gives each of us a chance to observe each other's behavior and learn from our neighbor. It helps us learn how to trust other people. It helps us have a place where we're concerned if we haven't seen you in a couple days, or if we know a person's certain schedule and they all of a sudden are not on that schedule, and we say, "Oh, we're happy you're home. Where were you?" So it's a sense of belonging as well. We also learn how to work together as a team over time. We also learn how to go through arguments and then get over them. So it is a little bit like group therapy. It's also like a family. Swift Haven is different than Unity Village in the way, in terms of our location. We are much closer to base camp, which means that we are going to be interacting more with the homeless population, which we were. We say hello, hi, how are you doing to people that we used to be on the street with. We know where they are. We do outreach just while we're at home. If somebody walks by and they're cold or hungry, we will grab them a baggie of food, some water, and you need a coat. And so we just send them on their way with what they need. Also, it can be rough and tumble out there, and there was a gentleman who had just gotten in a fight, so he was pretty banged up, and I just went in, got some Neosporin. I just gave it to him. I said, "Here you go." And if just that, giving him that little bottle of Neosporin means that maybe he won't get an infection, so that it won't turn into a major problem. So that's what we do here in terms of outreach, because we're much nearer to where the homeless the homeless are, because the resources are more in this area,
right.
As opposed to and also cars drive in. So we also have a fence. We're not secluded like Unity is. It's much more private. And secluded, and not. I was hung out there for 2 months because I was friends with one of the residents. It's a great Unity is a great place. Many of my friends live there, and so that is kind of the presence of Unity Village. Here, we are much more open to the public. our behavior is completely on display at all times. If you'd like to observe.
Or if you're driving by.
Or if you're
you
driving
live in
by.
the neighborhood, you're walking by.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So personally, I use that as a opportunity to, even though they don't talk to us, anyone who drives by can just see us going about our day, and I call Swift Haven New Suburbia because it is, and I think it's the wave of the future. So, anyways, okay.
If you had all the resources in the world and could change policy, what would you do?
I would immediately create more tiny home villages. I would not make them bigger than this. There does need to be only the number of residents where we can get to know each other, and so that there isn't, you can't have too many because then everybody kind of sticks to themselves. But when you have just a certain number, then it is more of a community. So I would create like small, tiny home communities like Swift Haven or Unity, and get people off the street. And each village will have its own character, and which is great.
What would you say to someone who's never experienced homelessness?
For someone who's never experienced homelessness, I would say, imagine that you needed to live out of a backpack and you had to carry around your home in your backpack. You could never leave it anywhere because somebody may and probably will steal it, and then your home is gone, which happens all the time. You're lucky to actually have a backpack that somebody has not stolen. You cannot go inside and get away from the sun or the rain or the cold. You are out there all the time. You also, like me, if you do not have a car, walk everywhere. And if you don't have enough money for the bus, well, you get to walk there. And so you're always in the elements. And in terms of functionality, it's just really hard. You really do have to be pretty organized if you're on the street, because you do have very little, and you're in the elements, and it's hard to function that way. And given congregate shelter, it is needed. It is the last safety net. However, it should not be the norm for people who are homeless. There should be a place where, especially someone of working age who wants to work, who just needs a place to lie down to go back to work. This is the bare minimum. I think this should be the bare minimum for someone who's homeless. And in terms of what I see in my future, my options are completely open. I can do whatever I need to do to increase my skill level in order to be qualified to do a job that I enjoy. It gives me that opportunity, and that's what I'm using my time here for, is to learn more skills and also increase and be able to deal with my mental health challenges to the point where it comes together where I can be a contributing member of Bellingham, very specifically, and also be able to relate my experience on the street as to other Bellinghamites.
So that's a good segue to the next question. Where do you see yourself in 2 years?
In 2 years, I can't say. All I can tell you is what I do every day. I would say that my goals in 2 years is to be in a career that I enjoy, and hopefully it'll be online, because online jobs are much more plentiful now since the pandemic. And so then I will be doing a job I love, which will most likely make enough money so that I can rent an apartment and continue that job and just grow from there, and really enjoy my life and not just be so stuck on the price of rent.
Yeah.